everyone, and welcome to Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. I'm Steve Pannone. We're coming to you live from the Inn at Villanova University, located at 601 County Line Road in Radnor. And, Coach, Saturday at Villanova Stadium, another CAA battle that, we've talked about these week in and week out. Literally comes down to the last play of the game. Stony Brook escapes with a 36-35 win, and we got a lot to talk about, obviously. But let's start in the first half. Some of the things you guys did well. You take a 28-10 lead. Yeah,
the first half went, almost as scripted, minus the block punt that we had. That's how they got their first touchdown. We held them to a 3-and-out. They got the ball to us, and then on our first possession, we got a couple first downs stalled at midfield, and then they blocked a punt. So then they had a short field, and that gave them their first touchdown. And then a couple series later, we executed a play that we practiced over the bye week and so on, and had a throwback screen to our quarterback. Jaron Hayek, our wideout, came across, took the handoff, and then threw it back to Danny Smith, our quarterback, and it went 68 yards for a touchdown. So, that was awesome. It tied it up, gave us really nice momentum, and there was a lot of good things happening on that play. One of their D linemen kind of saw the play as it was developing late, but our tackle did a great job peeling back and getting in his way. And then as Dan was going down the sideline, there was 2 or 3 blockers down there in front of him, so he was able to get it all the way to the end zone. So that was a play we practiced and knew we were going to call, and it's something, you always have these, I guess, non-conventional trick play kind of things, and you're practicing week in and week out, and you never know when you're going to pull them out. But with the bye week, we were able to get a little more work at it, and, Stony Brook's an aggressive style defense, so Coach Bowden called it at a really good time, and obviously the end result was awesome. So that was the tying score. And then they had a nice drive. We held them to a field goal, and then we had a number of other plays. We had 4 consecutive drives of over – the shortest drive we had was 77 yards.
Wow.
So, that's not easy to do, and our guys did a really nice job. And one of our other scores was another trick play, if you will, where we handed off the ball to freshman running back TD Ayodurajaye, and he threw the ball to Changa Hodge in the end zone. And again, that had to be a play. That was a play that we practiced and we kind of had in the pantry, and something we were going to call if we got in the right position, right field position, meaning, it's something that was going to be at the 30-yard line or in. It was going to be on the right to right middle hat. It just had to be set up properly to call it, and it kind of worked out.
Is there something you need to see in their defense as well? Is there an alignment that you say, hey, this might work against as opposed to something else?
Well, we knew going in their safety's a downhill aggressive player. So all you got to do is really account for the corner to get a little antsy on that. And, TD made a great play. Actually, the play wasn't executed perfectly by all 11, but TD did a great job, and Changa did a great job just selling it just long enough to get behind their corner and made a nice play in the end zone. The throw had to be almost on point, and, from a running back to be able to do that is saying something. So, as you mentioned, we took the 28 to 10 point lead, but we also had an interception. They were in scoring position just before the half, so they're in field goal range already. They're obviously trying to get the 7, not the 3, and Jaquan Amos picked off a pass. So, I'm sure at halftime we're going in there feeling pretty good about ourselves, but we scored on 2 trick plays. Chuck's going in there probably telling his team, hey, minus those 2 trick plays, and if we don't have that interception, this could be a 14-10 or maybe a 17-14 game in their favor. So I'm sure he went in there, trying to pump his guys up as well.
And then you come out in the second half, and the turnover bug kind of puts you in those first 2 series. You got a 28-10 lead, and you think, hey, let's take care of the ball, let's go drive, let's go get points. And you fumble the opening kickoff. You defer in the first half to get that possession, and you give it right away on the kickoff. Des Boykin got nicked up in the first half. He wasn't there. You had to go to some other guys that aren't normally your kick returners.
Yeah, that's it's almost like giving them the extra possession.
Yep.
And it's not like you are giving them the extra possession. It's worse than kicking off twice, because they got field position at our plus 21. If you kick off twice, which nobody wants to do, kick off, give them the ball the first half, give them the ball the second half, then that means they would have had a great kick return to get that type of field position. So we gave them an easy one there. But to our defense's credit, they stepped up and held them to a field goal. So they only got 3 points out of that one. And then the next drive, we're driving the ball, moving it to, down the field a little bit, and boom, we throw an interception. So now they got the ball on our 34-yard line. And so we gave them 10 points before we really had an opportunity to have the ball on offense in the second half. So you can't spot anybody 10 points. And really, when you look at the first half, their block punt that led to their 34-yard drive, their first 7 points, that's a huge difference. I just told you, our 4 drives in the first half were 77 yards or longer. Their 2 touchdowns and field goal drive were 40 yards or shorter.
Yeah, the short fields just you can't. You can only ask your defense to stand up so much. It's one thing to make them, if they drive 85 yards on them, sometimes you got to tip your hat to a good offensive series. But when you give them the ball in plus territory like that, obviously it puts your defense at a disadvantage. But you kind of regroup. You get a score to go back up. After make it 35-20, get a nice run by D. Will Barley, who we'll talk to a little bit later. And then in the fourth quarter, they make some plays in the running and passing game, and then we can get to the end of the game in a minute.
Yeah, that whole thing, the third quarter after we got to, so it was 28-10, right? And then we just talked about the 10 points we gave them, so now it's an 8-point game. And then it went back and forth for a couple series. And then we had a nice 11-play drive, and by now the third quarter flips to the fourth quarter. And we scored, as you mentioned, with D. Will going in from the 2-yard line on a 4th and goal of the 2.
I was going to ask you to backtrack a little, Coach. You had a 4th down in your own half of the field. I think it was 4th and 1 or 2.
And we're up 8.
You're up 8. Your defense has already had a lot of short fields. What goes into your mindset? Obviously, confidence in your offense to convert. But what's your thought process there?
Yeah, it's 4th and 1, and we're going to play to win the game. We're not playing to, just protect an 8-point lead or anything. We're going to play an aggressive style, and we're going to play to win the game. And so we did convert. I think it was at our 40-something, so it was on our side of the 50, and we got that first one. It was 4th and maybe a little less than a yard, and D. Will, I think, gained 7 or something on that play. And then we got down to the and goal situation, and we missed a play. We had a play batted down. We converted one to the 2-yard line, and now it's 4th and 2. We're up 8 with 9.5 minutes to go in the game, and we're like, hey, let's go for it and get up 2 scores. Let's get up 15 as opposed to, kicking the field goal and getting up 11 or something. Still a 2-score game. Yep. But so we went for it, and to our offense's credit and to D. Will's credit, he punched it in, and now we're up 15 with 9.5 to go. And then they followed that up with a 14-play drive.
Yeah. That was their best drive of the game.
Yeah, they
in
went
terms of consistency, and they converted a 4th down as well.
Yeah, they went 14 plays, 73 yards, and got a touchdown. And then they kicked it, so they got back to within that 8-point spread. And then our next drive, we went 3 and out.
Yeah. And
that drive really could have helped, obviously, throughout the game to, use more clock, go down, score, get whatever, And then after that, so they get the ball back, still down 8 with 4:20 something to play. Right? And then they go 73 yards in 5 plays. And there was a 47-yard run there that obviously was able to get the ball down the field pretty quickly. And that was huge. And then with 1 minute and 32 left on the clock, they go for 2 to try to tie it up. And the guy misses it.
Yeah, hit him right in the numbers.
Guy misses it. Yeah, we would have been better off if he caught it.
Yeah, in hindsight, please catch that ball, hit you right in the hands. Yeah, so now that takes us to the end of the game. I think you guys get the ball back with 1:27 to go.
1:32.
1:32. They have 1 timeout remaining.
Right.
And then I guess go through the sequence of plays and what you guys decide to do.
So here's how it works. All right, and everyone has their offensive play sheet. Everyone has their defensive play sheet. Everyone has their take a penalty, not take a penalty. Everyone has their 2-point conversion chart. When do you go for 2, when you're up, down, so on and so forth. And then everyone has their how much time on the clock, how many timeouts a team has left to be able to end the game. Well, with 1:32 on the clock and your team, the opponent having 1 timeout left, you can't just take the snap and take a knee. You're not going to kill enough time. So what we did is we took a delayed knee. We ran a play that we practice all the time. We want to take more time off the clock by rolling out. Some people thought we were looking to pass the ball. That's not happening.
Yeah.
We don't even want to risk a handoff, let alone a throw down the field. Incomplete, interception, all those things. So we rolled out, and unfortunately, we didn't execute properly. We had a holding penalty. And when that happens, now the clock stops, and they don't have to use their remaining timeout. The ball doesn't stop. And this is a rule, and I talked about this after the game. The rule changed a couple of years ago because if you normally, after a penalty, the clock will start on when the referee calls, the ball spotted, and he signals the ready, the clock starting, all right? But if you had that rule in play, if you didn't have that rule, then everyone would tell all 10 guys to hold, grab the guy, burn as much time as you can. They spot the ball, the clock starts, do it again, and just take penalties all the way down till the clock runs out of time. So that's an unfair advantage for the offense if the defense is behind. So they changed that rule a couple years ago where if a foul occurs, they can choose to have the clock start on the ready or have the clock start on the snap. Well, obviously, they're going to have the clock start on the snap, which gives them almost an extra timeout.
Yeah, basically that's what happened. They ended up with 2 timeouts instead of 1 there.
Right. So we knew we couldn't burn the whole minute 32. It was about a 12 to 13-second differential. So we tried to burn as much as we can, and then worst case scenario, we're punting it back to them, and they have the ball with 10 to 12 seconds as opposed to 21 seconds. But with the holding call, it stopped the clock till the next snap. Then we run the second down play. They stop the clock with their remaining timeout. Now we only have the third down play to use the full 40 seconds. And then the fourth down, we got to punt it away. Now 21 seconds on the clock instead of 12 to 10 seconds. So it's a whole different ball game in that case.
And then they get the ball back after you punt. And they hadn't made a long play in the passing game. They had a nice touchdown pass earlier, but it was like a 12-yard throw. Then they hit a long one in the passing game, obviously to get them down into very short field goal range to kick the winning field goal.
Yeah, they executed flawlessly, really. I mean, they did a great job gaining 19 on first down, had a sprint up there while the chains were being set and the clock had stopped. They got a sprint there, kill the clock, spike the ball. Then they get the 40-yarder, all right, and then the same thing. They got to kill the clock, and with 4 seconds left, they were able to spike the ball and then kick the winning field goal. So it's really just they executed without making a mistake at all. We made mistakes throughout the game that got us into that situation, and unfortunately we made a mistake on that first down play that allowed them to save their timeout. So if that doesn't happen, it's a whole different outcome.
And usually when you end up on the result in the game that we did, it's usually because not one thing went wrong, but like 4 and 5 things had to go wrong, and it's just kind of like Murphy's Law, like you talk about. Everything kind of goes wrong in that short period of time, and they made everything go right for them. You got to give them credit. They executed at the end of the game. It's not like
they want to win too.
That kid made he's out extended. He makes a diving catch at the 4-yard line, so you got to credit Stony Brook for making some excellent plays late in the game. But we're going to bring up one of the highlights of the game, and that's D. Will Barley after this quick break, who had an outstanding game once again, the freshman running back. So we'll take a quick break. We're live from the Inn at Villanova University, located at 601 County Line Road in Radnor. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite. More taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time. Back with more Talking Villanova football after this on 610 ESPN.
Best tailgate? It's got to be Burgers.
Welcome back to Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. We are live from the Inn at Villanova University, located at 601 County Line Road in Radnor. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite. More taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time. And, Coach, we're joined by your freshman running back, D. Will Barley, local product out of Upper Darby, PA, and Episcopal Academy. And D. Will, I guess I always start with freshmen. I always like to ask them the adjustment coming from, high school football to playing in the CAA. Talk to me a little bit about your adjustment.
Honestly, my adjustment has been a smoother one. Expected more than what I was capable of doing. Coming in, obviously having Covington and Jalen Jackson ahead of me, they really helped me excel at my position and understanding the offense. So the transition wasn't the hardest part. It was just getting up to the game speed and understanding the defenses and how they react to the offense moving.
Coach, college football, I guess all levels of football has changed. Used to have you had one back and he got the ball 33 times and ran, and no one does that anymore. You have really 4 scholarship running backs that you use with throwing in obviously with TD as well. Just talk about how important that depth is, and just your thoughts on how quickly D. Will's gotten himself ready to be a huge factor for your offense.
D's been done a great job. He's been a great addition to the program, as well as TD, and they've definitely filled in where needed because everyone knows about Covington's situation. Everyone knows about Jalen right now. He's off a thumb injury and hoping to get him back in a week or two. So D's been awesome. And you never know when you recruit these guys, how quickly they're going to be able to pick up the system, how quickly they're going to be able to, contribute. But D. Will came in and, the summer went well, and I know the guys, Cub and the other guys really helped him out learning the system over the summer. A little bit is when it starts, when they get together on their own, do some 7-on-7s, watch some film on their own and so on. And then, D just came in with a great maturity about him, and he's really adjusted really well and has had a couple great games, and this past week was no exception. 130 yards rushing, and TD, between the two of them, they had over 170 yards from the tailback position, and each scored a touchdown, and TD threw a touchdown. So that's pretty productive from the tailback position. So we're really excited about the two of them moving forward.
And D. Will, in the CAAs, we've talked about every week on the show. It's just a battle. It's physical teams. Everyone's pretty even. You seem to be picked first or 12th. It doesn't matter. You're going to play a quality opponent every week. How has it been physically for you? Going out now, I'm really starting to think about the William and Mary game where Justin went out and you really kind of picked up the slack there in the second half for him, and then down at James Madison, got a week hopefully to recuperate. How are you holding up physically in terms of how you're feeling?
Physically, I feel fine. It's just the process of, the aches and bruises of the game. But, I'm working constantly with Coach Tuck, the strength coach at Villanova. I'm constantly getting treatment and trying to make sure my body is 100% for game time. So physically, I'm perfectly fine. So that's a good note.
He's strong. He's strong.
I just shook his hand. I could feel it.
He's strong in the weight room. All those guys are. All of our running backs have real good strength. They have real good lower body strength and so on. And you can see that the way he runs. He runs through some iron tackles and so on and so forth. And D probably has the best, in my humble opinion, and I know the other guys will probably get mad at me for saying this, but probably has the best, 90-degree cut to acceleration speed, where TD's more that zone runner where he kind of, looks for that hole. And, his TD run was no exception. He went out to the left side and then kind of it rounds it off and then he gets going. And Cov and Jalen, they run through stuff as well. But TD probably has the best the quicker acceleration, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And he does a great job. So let me ask you a question. Being from Upper Darby, you would have went to Upper Darby High School had you went to your local school. Is that where you would have been with Coach Gentile over there?
Yes, that's my public high school. Yeah.
And then you went to Episcopal Academy with Coach Fairley. Todd's a great guy, does a great job out there, right out here. It used to be.
Beautiful campus.
Yeah, it used to be right there on City Line Ave. Now it's out here, out in the suburbs. But Todd does a great job, and he's a good friend of our program, comes and visits with us all the time, talks to our defensive coaches and so on and so forth. So we're real excited. D, just, again, he's at Episcopal Academy, so academically he's more mature than maybe some other top places. And, athletically he's done a phenomenal job. And like I said, he's real strong in the weight room. So he's more than picked up the slack for the loss of Cove right now.
D, we're going to take a quick break. I have a couple more questions for you after break. We're going to keep you on. We'll talk a little bit about your hands. I talked to Coach Bowden a little bit. He said you can catch the football a little bit too, so I want to talk to you about that. We're going to take a quick break here. We're live from the Inn at Villanova University, located at 601 County Line Road in Radnor. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite. More taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time. Back with more Talking Villanova football after this on 610 ESPN.
Get in the game at the Hyatt House, Philadelphia.
Football head coach Mark Ferrante. We're live from the Inn at Villanova University, located at 601 County Line Road in Radnor. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite. More taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time. We're joined by freshman running back D. Will Barley, who converted a big fourth down there for you, Coach. Made you look smart. If you don't make it, then they're all yelling at you.
Of course. Kick the field goal. You go up 11, whatever. But no, it was awesome play, and D. Will did a great job getting in the end zone, and the guys up front did a good job opening up the hole. So you're right. It made it look like the right call. So we're excited about that.
D. Will, I'm just looking at some numbers here from high school. 23 touchdowns, 2,963 rushing yards. But this is what I'm curious at. I understand a football player, especially a running back, running track and field. You got a letter in wrestling. I know Coach likes multi-sport guys. Tell us a little bit about high school wrestling.
That was a unique experience for me. Definitely got me tougher mentally because if you know wrestling, you know that it's a one-on-one sport, and you really get to push yourself and really find out a lot about your character and see the type of person that you are. So wrestling, that's the reason why I went out for wrestling. And the wrestling coach also wouldn't let me not go out for wrestling.
He recruited you.
Basically. So that's basically what wrestling did for me.
How much did you weigh? What you wrestle at?
I wrestled at 170, and from 170 to 182. So
how much are you now?
I'm 193.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you any good?
I mean,
how was your record?
I won more than I lost. Okay. So that's good. Yeah.
How many years you wrestled?
1 year.
Just the 1 year. Yeah.
Yes.
So, that's good, but you do love that, right? You're out there, it's one-on-one, and it's you against the other guy, and you can't hide. If you make a mistake in football, sometimes people don't notice that. But if you make a mistake in wrestling, it's going to expose you. So I love recruiting wrestlers, to be honest with you, especially O&D linemen.
Yeah, you said that. Now, well, back to football for a quick second. And it was great. It was actually before the William & Mary game, I got a chance to talk to offensive coordinator Chris Bowden. And he mentioned both you and TD, with the ability of you guys to catch the ball out of the backfield. That was so important. and you end up catching the game-winning touchdown out of the backfield. So Chris Bowden, he knows what he's talking about, and D. Will made him look well. But did you have an opportunity in high school to do that much? I wouldn't think. I think they probably just hand it off to you and you go do it, right?
Yeah, honestly, in high school it was more of a run the ball, catch the ball on occasion. But at the collegiate level, it's like I'm getting the opportunity to show my ability to catch the ball more. So that's definitely my biggest improvement.
He had a big catch on Saturday down the sideline there on one of the plays there that kept a drive going, and I think we scored off of that drive as well. So, D. Will, TD, all these guys are catching the ball much better. And, you almost have to, like you said, even at the pro level, you look at these guys and, they rotate guys through all the time. And, that's a big part of the game. You got to be able to do both.
And Coach D. Will's got an interesting family story.
Yeah, I knew he had a lot of siblings. I wasn't 100% sure how many. Why don't you let everyone know how many are in your family?
I have 9 other siblings, like brothers and sisters, and I'm the 10th child, so I'm the youngest.
You're the
youngest
baby
of the bunch.
Yeah.
You're spoiled. You must be spoiled.
How many of those are sisters? Because they really spoil you.
Just 4.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, they're all older, so it's like I got most of my football and being tough from my brothers that are closer to me. So
a lot of rivalry in the house, right? And that made you tough, and that made you competitive.
Of course.
Yeah. No doubt.
And probably hungry, fighting for food at a big table like that.
And I remember his one brother, D, who I recruited. He obviously went to a different school, and then we got D. Will. Dad's name's D, by the way, and then there's a D. Jr. So, there's a little bit of a theme there within the Barley residents, which is awesome. They're great people, and I got to know Mom and Dad real well over the recruiting process of both of them, and we're just happy that D, has decided to come and join us here.
No doubt about it. D, during that process, what attracted you to Villanova? What was the, obviously, I guess one of them may probably be staying home and your family can see, but throughout that process and you have options to look at, what stood out? What made Villanova stand out to you?
Honestly, the fact that the coaches actually were cared about the players and who they were bringing in. Coach Ferrante, Coach Jones, the coaches that recruited me, they really showed interest in not only me but my family. They will always ask about how my parents were doing, and I thought that really put them on top of all other schools.
And that's the kind of place Villanova is, and that's the kind of program that Coach runs, right?
Everyone, we talk about family, obviously, and we hope that we practice what we preach, and community environment and so on and so forth. And we want these guys to be well-rounded. We want to make sure they're, excited about, going to school and doing a good job there, and then obviously being the athlete that they can become, and then just being the good community person as well. And D definitely fits that mold of what we're looking for, and we're, like I said, happy that he decided to join us.
D, we heard from Coach after obviously a tough loss. You guys, you lose it on the last play of the game. How the guys holding up? What's the mindset? What's your guys' approach heading to New Hampshire on Saturday?
Honestly, we talked about it after the game. We have to stay 88 strong, but this week we have to be stronger together. We have one mindset to go up to UNH and come back victorious, because we need this one. It's one that we have to get. So.
I love that from a young guy like that.
Man,
that's awesome.
He's getting it. He's drinking the Kool-Aid. He's getting the message, and that comes from the older guys. That comes from Cove and Jalen, and then this freshman class. Obviously, I'm sure they're developing their bond, because the way the campus is set up, they're all down on South Campus together. So I'm sure they went back on Saturday evening and sat around and kind of hashed everything out and kind of talked through everything. And we're just excited. And I think we had a good day of practice today. Coming out there, had a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm, and put that one behind us and move forward.
Well, D-Will, we really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule today. Wish you the best of luck Saturday as you guys head up to New Hampshire. So we'll take a quick break. We're live from the Inn at Villanova University, located at 601 County Line Road in Radnor. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite. More taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time. Back with more Talking Villanova football after this on 610 ESPN.
Looking for a cool way to get a new...
football head coach Mark Ferrante. We're live from the Inn at Villanova University, located at 601 County Line Road in Radnor. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite. More taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time. And, Coach, we just had D. Will Barley on, and he talked a little bit about that bond with your freshman class. And, you know, I guess with your 88 strong, everyone's got to be a piece. It seems to me, being around the program for a long time, you have to play a lot more fresh. I saw Elijah Glover getting in there. I saw Elijah Solomon. Some of the guys that unfortunately didn't have Isis Waxter on Saturday. Right. But this freshman class has really contributed to the program in a really solid way.
Yeah, they're doing a great job. You got Hayek out there, and you got D. Will and TD and everybody. So, you know, you want to try to redshirt as many of them as you can just to give them the year of development, growth, you know, getting used to being in college, you know, time management skills, all those things. But unfortunately, when you have a smaller roster like you do at a private school like Villanova versus, you know, some of the larger state schools where they have a roster of 110 plus, you're going to have to rely on some freshmen. And then, you know, that's once you start having the injury, you're going to have even more freshmen have to play. And, you know, the ones that usually redshirt for us are the freshman quarterbacks or the freshman offensive linemen. The ones that play quicker really are the freshman running backs or wide receivers or sometimes the D linemen if they have the right size and they pick up the system. So these guys have done a phenomenal job, and we're real excited, like I said, about the whole class. They're doing a good job. Some guys, you know, are in the redshirt mode right now, and, you know, we haven't needed to use them, so they're learning and they're running scout team and, you know, they're honing their craft and so on. But some of these other guys, you know, and there's been other years when we've had more injury where maybe you have to play a guy who's a freshman who's not as ready. I would say that TD and D. Will have proven that they're physically ready to play at this level, and they're both doing a phenomenal job. Now it's a matter of, you know, picking up the system and doing those things. And they're both really smart guys, so they've done a great job doing that. So we're real excited about those guys.
And, Coach, you know, just overall in your program, it just seems such a positive vibe. And, you know, you can win games, you lose games. I'm more talking about just around the building, around this group. They will hear the way these young men talk about the kind of program that you're running here. I think it just says a whole lot about the kind of culture and chemistry you've established with this group, and obviously it comes from the locker room with some strong leadership from your captains. But I mean, I know you spend a lot of time talking to these young men and trying to get across your points and how you want them to go about being Villanova football players. And I guess talk a little bit about what you do during the week. Everyone knows you're out on the field at practice, but some of the other things that you do with these young men to kind of get their minds straight as well as physically straight.
Well, all of our coaches, myself included, we really have an open door policy, and there's any time and any day where some of the players might just stop in and just chat it up. You know what I mean? Some of the coaches will bring their guys in to have a meeting and talk to them about their family, talk to them about their academics, talk to them, you know, outside of football stuff, just to, you know, have those type of things. And really, it all starts within them as well. They did a great job, and I may have mentioned it on a previous show at some point, where they have established cookouts on their own over the summer. They would do things on their own over the summer. We would do some team activities, but they have done some things also on their own. And, you know, that just brings the group together because, you know, when you get into the season, or you get into when school starts and, you know, upperclassmen live in the apartment-style dorms and freshmen live down on South Campus in the traditional dorms, and we have some sophomores on main campus and so on. You're a little more spread out. But in the month of July, when they're together for summer school, they did a great job this summer, especially coming together. And it was organized really mostly throughout the players. And that's what it takes. You know what I mean? And you need to have that chemistry. You need to build that bond. You need to build that trust and love for each other. And our guys have done a phenomenal job with that. And our coaches, like I said, have done a great job, you know, getting to know the guys. And we did a lot of different exercises in the offseason where we had guys get up and talk to their team just about who they are and where they're from, you know. And, you know, some guys took advantage of that. Some guys, you know, weren't as comfortable maybe to get up and speak in front of all 90 guys. But a lot of guys did it and just get to know a guy outside of the athlete, outside of the other stuff. And our guys have done a great job, and they're buying into the 88 strong. And, you know, that came from them. That came from the guys. You know, our mantra, if you will, or our motto has been, you know, tap the rock. You know, that's something that we've been having for 10 years. And, you know, from our strength coach, Coach Tucker and them have been, you know, attitude, effort, attention to detail. So we have that going. And then play for each other has been good. So we have these things that go from year to year to year. And then these guys developed, since there's 88 on the roster, They developed the 88 strong mentality, and they're hanging together, and they're a tight group, and it's been a real pleasure to deal with.
Well, speaking of one of those guys who used to play like he was all 88 of them, we have him on the line. It's Tano Passanio, his third-year member of the Kansas City Chiefs, and I saw him Sunday running around tackling Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers for 2 sacks. So, Tano, are you there on the line?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Tano, how you doing, man?
What's up, Coach? How you doing?
Hey, doing well. I've been. You guys have had a good number of national TV games, so I've been able to watch you probably a little more this year than previous years. So it's been exciting to watch. And as you and I text the other day when we were asking you to come on the show, similar to us, you didn't have the outcome you wanted in this past weekend's game, but you had a heck of a game, man. You sacked Mr. Rodgers. Twice, I think, you sacked him in the game. Is that correct?
Yeah, sure. 3 times, but yeah, twice.
They held you a couple times, too, so you definitely had an impact in that game. And the other thing I wanted to talk to you about, your first 2 years out of that 3-4 defense, Coach Sutton had you kind of as an outside linebacker. Now you're back at home with your hand in the ground. My man Spags has you down there as a defensive lineman, and they put you on the outside. I've noticed on some of the passing situations, they have you inside, like aligned over the center and guard. What's the thought process there?
It's kind of just get the best pass rushers on the field. So normally it's me, Frank, Oakford or Agua. I mean, out there, we're just trying to get us all out there and confuse the line.
And how do you feel back with your hand in the ground as opposed to standing up and trying to be an outside linebacker? You a little more comfortable, feel a little more at home?
Yeah, no, it feels good. I learned a lot at the linebacker position, but being back with my hand in the dirt definitely feels great.
Yeah, no doubt. And we got Spags as your D coordinator. Coach Reed, obviously everyone out this direction knows Coach Andy Reid, former Philadelphia Eagle head coach. And then your D-line coach, Brendan Daly. A lot of people that are probably here tonight or listening to the show tonight don't realize that your positional coach, Coach D-line at Villanova. How's it going with you and Coach BD?
No, he's awesome. You know how he is. Everything's 100% with him. You know, he's giving us all with everything, and he gets a lot out of the guys that he has in the room. You know.
Yeah, so, he's a high motor guy. He definitely wants you to be flying around. And Tyler, one of the questions I had for you is, it's just adjusting now. It's your third year, so it's not really you've been through this twice before, but you guys are obviously nicked up. You know, Mahomes has been out. It's a long season. You guys have maybe hit a little rut that you haven't had in the last couple of years. We were just talking to a young freshman here about the mindset of Villanova's locker room after a tough loss. How is it different at the professional level? Is it as much rah-rah, or is it like, hey, we're adults now, everyone just take care of your own business? How do you guys in your locker room handle things?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a lot less not chaotic, I would say, but guys are like more on taking care of their business. It's like what you said. We make the corrections, we see what we have to do, and no one really freaks out to say anything, but
it's your job.
I say we definitely, we take it calmly. It is our job. I mean, this is all we do, so we better be on top of it, you know.
Tyler, if you could hang on for one quick minute, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to bring you back. If you could hold on for 1 minute, we'd really appreciate it. So we'll be back with Tano Passanio after this quick break. We're live from the Inn at Villanova University, located at 601 County Line Road in Radnor. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite. More taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time. Back with more Talking Villanova football after this on 610 ESPN. back to Talking Villanova Football. Head coach Mark Ferrante. We're coming live from the Inn at Villanova University, located at 601 County Line Road in Radnor. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite. More taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time. We're also joined by former Villanova Wildcat and current Kansas City Chief Tano Passanio. And Coach, you wanted to go through Tano's stat line with him?
Yeah, Tano. So this game, right? It's funny because when you look at your stat line, you had 2 tackles for a loss, and 2 sacks. But those are all the same 2 plays, right? That's how that reads. Because if I'm reading that as a layperson, I'm like, oh, shoot, he made 6 tackles in the course of the game.
Nope.
But it looks a lot better when they write it down that way. So
Coach just blew your cover. Everyone thought you had 6 plays.
So here's, I'm not gonna, you don't have to answer this, but I hope you get bonus checks for those sacks because I hope your guy has that in your contract because I know a lot of them do. So hopefully you get a little incentive to get those sacks as well. I remember when you were here and Coach Daly came and worked you out over in one of the facilities, and he was with the Patriots at the time. So he just joined you guys this year, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so how did that go? I'm sure, did he remember you when he walked in the building and remembered working you out when you were here?
Oh, yeah, he does. He remembers working all of us out, me, Austin, and Brad. So we were just catching up, honestly, when we first met. And then, just took off from there.
Yeah, that's great. And then Spags decided to put you down. I know when we had the break right there, Steve and I were talking about Spags when he was with the Giants. You know, similar to what he's doing with you guys now. When it's a definite pass situation, he puts like 3 and 4 defensive ends in the game because you guys are all, more of the speed rush type guys, and that's when he puts you down inside. And at 6'7", you can get your hands up and knock some passes down as well. So we're real happy for the success that you're having with the guys out there with Coach Reed. And, we obviously know him from out here. And obviously Spags and I coached together at Lafayette a million years ago, it seems like. But, we have a lot of connections with those guys. And with Coach Daly being on our staff, he was on our staff twice, actually. He was here as an entry-level guy, and then he moved on and then came as the D-line coach. So we're real excited and, for the success you've been having. You played a ton the other night. Do you have some guys that are banged up? I know normally there's a bigger rotation, but do you have some guys in the D-line banged up out there right now?
Yeah, actually, one of our DMs went down in the game, so we ended up only having 2 DMs dressed and 3 interior D linemen.
Oh, wow.
So one of them actually bumped out to DN. We had a linebacker come in and play DN, but we have some guys coming back, hopefully. So
Right, because, you played a lot of snaps the other night. I know that because I was watching the game. And are you still actively involved with some of the special team stuff? I don't know if I was paying closely enough attention to some of those snaps.
Yeah, I'm still on punt return.
Still on punt return. You're not returning, though, right?
That'd be a big target if they were hitting him.
No, I'm just knocking guys around out there.
Now, you keeping your weight up? What are you holding your weight at? I know 6'7" and what? What's your weight at right now?
280.
Okay, so you're still maintaining that 280 pounds and being able to run around. So that's good. And is Mom still living out this way? Or she move out closer to you yet?
Yeah, no, she's still in Philly, but she's actually in Africa right now. She's in Uganda.
Okay.
Doing a whole bunch of family stuff out there.
How long is she staying over there?
Well, she's been there for a month, probably another couple of weeks. She'll actually be coming back in town pretty soon.
So you mentioned Austin, you mentioned Brad. Obviously, Austin's down there with the Jaguars. Brad's down there with the Bucks. How frequently do you talk to those guys?
I was just talking to Austin today.
Okay.
And Brad pretty much the same. We're always talking.
Yeah, I know you guys are a tight-knit group. I figured you'd probably be reaching out to them just
talking about stats. Austin had some stats, man.
He what?
Austin had some stats this weekend.
He got his first start this week, right?
Yeah.
When he was down there with the Jags, he got his first start.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he did a great job with the Seahawks out there. So I'm glad that he's finally, getting on the field. I know he was mostly special teams when he first got down there, so I'm glad that he's getting going with those guys. Who do you guys have this week coming up?
We got the Vikings.
Vikings? At your place or up there in the Dome?
It's here.
Okay. All right, good. Is that a Sunday game? You're going to be on TV again? Are we going to be able to catch you in action or what? Is that one of the national games or not this week?
Yeah, no, it's on Sunday. You know who's actually coming?
Who is?
Rose.
Oh, really? He's coming out to the game?
Yeah.
You taking care of him with some tickets? You getting him some box seats, or what are you doing out there?
Yeah, I'm treating them well.
Okay. All right. And now, have you bought a house out there yet? Have you taken some of that money out of your pocket and bought a house yet, or are you still renting an apartment, living close?
No, I'm still renting an apartment.
How far from the stadium?
About 10 minutes, so
Okay.
not bad.
That's pretty convenient.
And Tano, is your workout facility right near the stadium, or are you in a different area?
No, it's right. Everything's right in the same area. It's not at the actual stadium, but just the same area.
So why don't you just real quick, before we let you go here, share with everybody, because I know, when you were here, you and I talked all the time about, watching film, but you also talked about needing to go to class and doing your schoolwork and all that stuff. So now that you're at the professional level and this is your job, what time do you report at the stadium or, for meetings / workouts, and what time do you leave? What does the normal day practice week look like for a professional guy?
Normal day, I mean, it's comprised of pretty much field work and film, a lot of film, either watching film of yourself or the opponent. But since we have all day, it's really good. Good to be able to have that time to actually break up the offensive situations and different, a lot of different things we couldn't do or had the time to do together in college. But I would say on most days I wake up around 6:30, get in there around 7. Meetings start around 8:15, and then usually get out around 6.
Okay, so
meetings are usually out by 5, but I usually do a little extra work.
Right. So it's a full-time job. It's 8 to 6. It's not a 9 to 5 even. So you're in there full-time. So I know you and I, especially in your early years, always talked about the importance of watching film. So now it's a requirement, not just an option. Is that right?
Yeah, no, that's all.
That's good. When do you guys practice? Do you practice in the afternoon or mornings?
No, we practice in the afternoon.
Okay, and how long are your practices at that level? Because, sometimes everyone talks about college being long and those type of things. How long are your practices up at that level on your Wednesdays and Thursdays?
2 hours, 2.5 hours.
Okay, so they keep you pretty active. They keep you going pretty good.
Well, Tano, we want to wish you luck this weekend against Minnesota. We really appreciate you taking some time, and everyone back here at Villanova is pulling for you. I guess unless we play the Eagles. Well, I'm a Giants fan, so we don't play the Chiefs this year. I can root for them every game.
Okay, there you go. Good.
Well, Tano, thanks again, and best of luck the rest of the year. Hopefully we'll see you guys in the playoffs again.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, we'll take a quick break here. We're live from the Inn at Villanova, located at 601 County Line Road in Radnor. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite. More taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time. Back with more Talking Villanova football after this on 610 ESPN. Talking Villanova football with head coach Mark Ferrante. We're live from the Inn at Villanova University, located at 601 County Line Road in Radnor. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite. More taste, only 96 calories. Miller time. And Coach, your old boss liked your little trick play
he
there.
sounded more like a fan, not like a color guy.
Keep going, go, touchdown.
You're supposed to be neutral when you're on the radio. You're not supposed to be a homer.
It's Villanova's broadcast. You can be a homer all he wants. But all right, Coach, we head up to wonderful New England. The weather looks okay. Not like when you go to New Hampshire in November, you never know what you're going to get. But the New Hampshire Wildcats 4-3 in the year, 3-1 in the league. So doing a good job under, I guess, interim head coach Ricky Santos. Right. You want to tell the story how Ricky's taken over?
As a quarterback,
oh, very
by the way.
Good.
He
Too
was
well.
like a magician.
Too
you
well.
didn't know where the ball was with him. But, yeah, unfortunately, Sean McDonald, who's a great friend of mine, and he's been in that program. Very similar to me. He was an assistant for a long, long time, and then Coach Bowes retired, and Sean got the job, and he's done a phenomenal job up there. But he has some off-the-field health issues that he's dealing with, so he had to step away. I think it wasn't announced until preseason started, so it was one of those things that kind of took everybody by surprise. And most importantly, his team and his program. So Ricky is on staff, and they made him the interim head coach. And Sean, I've talked to him a couple times on the phone. He's in great spirits. He does go to practice from time to time. I think he's going to be at the game this week, but I'm not 100% sure. He told me he lives about a half mile away from the stadium, and on a lot of days he'll get on his bike and ride over to the stadium. And he says, I kind of keep my distance. I stay away. Here's what he told me on the phone when I talked to him, I think 2 weeks ago. He goes, I keep my distance. I stay away. I let Ricky do his thing and all the coaches, but I'm still pretty good at yelling at the kickers. So he goes up there, and he says he still goes and kind of does his thing with the kickers. But, we wish Sean nothing but the best. And, I hope I get an opportunity to see him. I'm looking forward to seeing him. And we wish him, obviously speedy recovery and all the things that he's dealing with.
Yeah, obviously you guys compete at a highest level, and on that Saturday for 3 hours, but it kind of puts everything into perspective when you don't have your health.
Yeah, he's really taken me under his wing as a newer head coach in the league, even though I've known him for a long time. So when we go to our head coaches meetings in the summer and so on, he's taken me under his wing, and, he's been my golf partner. He's brought me into his group, with Laycock retiring and all that. And to be in Sean's group at the golf outing is a pretty good honor for me, to say the least. So I'm real excited to have an opportunity to hopefully bump into Sean.
And what have you seen from them on the field this year? Start offensively.
It's just talking general real quick, not to not do what you're asking me to do, but they're a well-coached team. They feed off of Sean's mentality, and he's a high motor guy. He's a no-nonsense guy, and that's how they play. They don't take a lot of chances. They play very fundamentally sound offense, defense, and special teams. They're high motor guys. They do the right thing. Right now, when you look at the statistical things, their defense is tied with JMU as far as being the number one defense in the country as far as points scored at 16 a game. On offense, they're not scoring a ton of points. They're only at 19 a game, but they're 3-1 in the league, as you said. So they find ways to win. They don't beat themselves. They don't make mistakes, and they're very fundamentally sound, and that's how Sean is. And I'm sure Ricky, playing there, has learned to be the same way. And you got to commend the job that Ricky's been doing under the circumstances. Sure. Especially that they have going up there. So their offensive line is always athletic. They're not always the biggest. I don't think they have any 300-pounders listed on their starting lineup, which we'll see 300-pounders every week, and we have some of our own. But they're all 290 or below, and they're athletic, and they play hard, and they come off the ball. A lot of guys, even when you look at the pro level, offensive linemen aren't firing out the way they used to. A lot of times they're just kind of stepping off and kind of screening guys more than driving guys off the ball. Well, New Hampshire's not like that. They're still coming off with flat backs, and they're still getting after it and running their feet on contact and doing a great job there. The running backs they have are the same guys we had last year. There's really two listed on the depth chart, number 26 and number 22, but number 20 is a guy we're seeing on film a lot as well, and he's also their kick returner. So they have a rotation there, like we talked about earlier with our guys. You always want to have a rotation. Their wideouts are doing a really nice job, and they have a freshman quarterback. But as I've stated before about our freshman running backs, we're 8, 9, 10 weeks into the season now. You're not freshmen anymore, and same with their quarterback. He's doing a really good job managing the game. He's doing a really good job controlling the football. He's not taking a lot of chances, and he's doing a really phenomenal job up there as a freshman quarterback. Defense, their experience is probably a little more on defense. Their secondary is very experienced. They have 3 seniors back there, and I think a junior or sophomore. And then, their linebackers aren't the biggest. We played against 240 and 235 5-pound linebackers. I think both their linebackers inside the box are listed at 205, but they're very athletic and they're downhill type guys. And their D-line is much like their O-line. They're guys that are going to come off the ball and get underneath your pads and move their feet on contact and make things happen. So, they're a good defense and they're aggressive on defense, and they don't take a lot, like I said, they don't take a lot of chances. They play good, fundamental, sound, play their gap football, and you're going to have to earn what you get.
Well, Coach, sounds like another CAA game, right?
Exactly.
Well, best of luck as you guys head up there on Friday afternoon to take on the New Hampshire Wildcats on Saturday. That'll wrap up Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite, the original light beer brewed for more taste and only 96 calories. Miller Lite, hold true. Thanks to our hosts here at the Inn at Villanova University. Thanks to Joe Gaines and Ryan Lennox back in the studio. Tune in to 610 ESPN when Villanova takes on New Hampshire this Saturday. Game time is at 1 o'clock. Pre-game show begins at 12:45. Our next Talking Villanova football show will be next Monday, not Tuesday. We're Monday next week. Men's basketball is playing Tuesday, so we're going to move to Monday, November 4th at 7 p.m. For Coach Ferrante, this is Steve Pannone. Thanks for listening to 610 ESPN.
You've been listening to